Okay, welcome, bookish friends. This is the first live YouTube episode of Canada Reads American Style. Tara and Rebecca here. I cannot tell you how long this has taken. It's taken about 2 hours for us to get to this point. And really, we have no idea if this is actually working. Right, Rebecca?
We have no idea. And you know what? You know why the last time it didn't work is because I didn't have this screen where I could see both of us on it. I had it flips to a different screen for me. And I
Oh,
that's what I was waiting for that to start moving. So,
yeah.
if you are with us, well, we won't know if I guess at some point we would know if somebody's live watching us, but holy shit, this has been a challenge.
This has been like the people who do this all the time. Kudos to you because, well, you know
Yeah.
what? Kudos to us too, Rebecca, for sticking with this for 2 hours. Like normally, I think normally we would have been like out,
Yeah,
done, but
exactly.
no,
Exactly. Yeah,
kudos.
this was
Anyways,
yeah, it was a
we're here.
challenge.
It was
Yes.
challenged, but we're here on the slightly not eve of Canada Reads. 2024. The debates start on Monday. We thought we would pop in. We thought this is a good little time for us to do our first YouTube live chit chat, discuss the upcoming debates, and see what's going. Rebecca, what are you reading?
Okay, so it is, well, technically it's Women's History Month, but I have a Black History Month book I'm
Okay.
reading. And I think this is going to show backwards, right? So it's Black AF History,
Yeah.
and it says The Un-Whitewashed Story of America by Michael Harriot. And I just have to say, if you want to read a really, really funny, like right out the gate, really butt-gusting funny book about Black history and how white people have owned the narrative forever, read this book. I'm not even that far into it, but it is hilarious and it's really
Really?
informative too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's I mean, seriously, I think I don't know who this person is, the author, but I thought I think I have to look more into him because he's just I don't know anybody this funny. Just in like and then the book is like probably 300 almost 400 pages of just like really sarcastic, funny, anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Read it,
Okay.
read
That
it. It's
sounds up my
hilarious.
alley.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
you would like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what are
I
you
do.
reading?
I am reading, where's my book? I'm reading a horror book. It's called The House of Last Resort by Christopher Golden. I don't know where I
Have you
heard
read
about
it?
it. It's a new book too. Just came out like in January, I think. I don't remember where I heard about it, but for some reason, whenever I heard about it, I went and put a hold on at the library, and it popped in. It arrived a couple days ago, and I picked it up. It is spooky. It is really creepy. I've got to be honest. It's a haunted house in small town Sicily. And it's 100-year-old house that was built on catacombs, and there's stuff about the Roman Catholic priests that did exorcisms in the house. It's creepy AF. Mine's creepy AF. It
Yeah.
is.
And is that the thing where they had like they put like they buried like a bunch of skulls and stuff? And when you have you ever seen those catacombs where they
Yeah,
have all those
that's in France,
skulls?
right? I think that's in
I don't even
France.
know. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this one is apparently there's some in Italy like that as well.
Yeah.
And it's a young American couple who have moved here because his family is originally from Sicily. So they've moved there because they can buy this big house super
Yeah.
cheap. And I gotta say, it's a haunted house book that's super creepy. I often find horror books sometimes I always enjoy the story, but the
Yeah.
creepiness level, like the scariness level, is kind of like meh, it's like a little
Yeah.
creepy, but not really super creepy. But this one,
Yeah.
I'm only like maybe halfway in, but I'm like, okay, this I may need something else to read at nighttime before bed.
Ooh.
Because
Have you read that author before?
no, new to me. But I think he's read boatload of books
Oh
and
yeah.
comics, graphic novels. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I probably won't be reading it, but you'll let us know on our
I will.
podcast
Yeah.
specifically
I think
if
there's
it
like
makes the
ghostly priests. tripping around
Yeah.
the house. It's like
Yeah.
really scary. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
What else we got going on?
well, I mean, today we are going to talk about kind of like our little wrap up going into Canada Reads. And so thank you for reminding me to listen to all the Canada Reads podcast episodes with Ali Hassan, who we will be chatting with the day after the debates are finished. So we're really excited about that. But anyway, they had interviews with the defenders and the authors, and those interviews were fabulous, except so far, we haven't seen one from Denison Avenue. So I'm hoping that we see that before, obviously, the debates on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's on the Next Chapter podcast that
Oh,
we've been
thank you.
listening to these, which, yeah, it's weird because I was wondering that too. And I was about to go back and look through when you mentioned it to me. I'm interested to ask Ali when we talk to him next week, because previous years, or last several years anyways, they do these author and debate defender interviews on the Next Chapter, but it's always been with Sheila Rogers,
Oh, yeah.
right? And then Ali sees them the week of the debates, but he's actually meeting the defenders and talking to them like previous to the debate. So I'm just wondering how that's changing his experience, or will it change his experience next
Well,
week?
that and it also makes me wonder. I mean, let's face it, if I were a defender, I'd be listening to my competition and what they had to say to kind of get a sense of where they might go. And some of them have actually given, I mean, they've said a lot.
Yeah.
And it makes me think I would maybe tailor my arguments to what I know they're going to bring to the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I know it.
that's a bold move on their part to be as candid or as descriptive about their book as they were, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just curious. I'm just looking. So, because Canada Reads has a podcast as well, right?
You know,
And
I don't know. Do they?
yeah,
They
they do. And
did.
for previous years, what they've done is the authors or the defenders go on the Next Chapter with Sheila Rogers, and then CBC takes that little snippet of interview and puts it onto the Canada Reads podcast. And
Yeah,
this year they have not done that,
yeah.
which
Well,
is hmm,
well, I have to laugh though because you know their podcast, that Canada Reads podcast, was never. It's. I think it, like you said, they replayed some of those things, so it wasn't necessarily a place to go to get the top information. Like I go
yeah,
to their website for everything I need, or Next Chapter. That's kind of
yeah,
uh for this year specifically. So,
yeah.
and that's mostly because you reminded me because I actually had kind of forgotten. So, but I'm glad I got to listen to those. So, I have a question. So, where, since you listened to all of them, have you thought about ranking how you would rank who you think will go off when or who will win based on what you heard?
I don't really, because so the way I think the books, I'm going to say not should or might go
Yeah,
out, is different than how I think the defenders are actually going to perform. Like a part of
yeah.
me, so I the romance I think has a good chance of going out first. But, and I can't remember any of the defenders' names right now,
Can't either.
I think she's going to be a strong defender. So I think she actually has a pretty good chance of the romance staying longer than I think it might. And Bad Cree, I feel like might go out earlier than I originally thought it would, just based on the books alone. So I really think the defenders are going to play a big part in where the books land.
Okay, so that's actually what I meant. I didn't maybe ask my question correctly because I
Okay.
actually have my list according to having listened to four of the five defenders. We couldn't hear Denison Avenue's defender, but so far anyway. But I have made a list of how I think it will go based on those interviews that I heard because I
Okay.
thought they were amazing. I thought those. So
Yeah.
if you haven't listened to those interviews, go listen to those interviews. Next Chapter podcast. So, you want me to give you my list of how
Yeah.
I think it's
Let's
going to
hear it.
go? Okay. I actually think Bad Cree is going to go out first,
Ooh,
which is a bold
it is.
prediction.
It is. I think Dallas. His name's Dallas.
Yeah. Sunius.
I don't know how prepared he is. I, yeah, I feel like he's just very like going into it, just maybe flying by the seat of his pants, and that's not going to work.
And the other reason, I totally agree 100% with that. And then the other reason I think he might go out first is he really, it was a surprise. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know who he is. He's not familiar to me, but he really, okay, I hate saying this, but he really lacks the self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's not in his comfort zone. I think he's a volleyball player or was a volleyball player. He's
Yeah,
probably a brilliant athlete, whatever, right? Knew his business, did a
yeah,
great job. But in this situation, maybe he feels really uncertain of his abilities because it came across a lot in the interview.
mm-hmm.
And so I that's why I think he might it's just going to get more and more stressful as Monday rolls around. And then when they go live, I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like he may just flounder a little bit. So that's why I think Bad Cree's going to go out first.
yeah.
And I
It could.
never would have said that
No,
if I hadn't
no,
heard that interview.
no. I had it kind
Mhm.
of like second, third place, kind of like
Yeah,
going around in the middle kind of thing.
yeah,
But yeah, it could. Yeah.
yeah. So then my next one I think will be Meet Me at the Lake because I do think she or they, I'm not sure. Like I said, I can't remember the person's name or who they are. I think they're a fashion influencer.
Yeah.
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 But I didn't think the arguments were necessarily that strong on the interview. So I sort of feel like, where I think a lot of people think Meet Me at the Lake's going to go out first, I kind of feel like they might hold on a little bit longer. And so I think that will go out next.
Yeah.
And then the third one is, I think, the future. Because
Mm.
even though I think Heather O'Neill will be a strong debater, who was the person for Shut Up, You're Pretty? That's an actress or an
The
actor,
actress.
right? Okay, I can't remember that person's name, but man, let me tell you something. That person blew me away. And I
Yeah.
actually liked the book anyway, but she made me think that book absolutely deserves to be in the
Yeah.
top two. So that's why I
She wrote
thought
the book.
that I think she's fierce, that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
debater.
Because I think
And
I
then I'm
told
just
you so, I didn't enjoy the book,
mhm,
but I listened to that interview and I was like, hmm, I think I need to reread the book. And I'm like, she has convinced me to reread a book that I
yeah,
really didn't enjoy that much. I'm
yeah,
like, that's, I think she's got game.
yeah.
Sounds so lame
And
to say
yeah,
that, but I think really she does.
yeah, she was amazing. And I did read the book when it came out. So it's been like almost what, 4 years or so, 4.5 years. And I did just do the audiobook. I listened to the audiobook, but I still don't I I'm better at especially a subject like that. I'm
Yeah.
better reading it than listening to it. But it reinforced that I did like it. And then I heard the interview and then I was like, "Oh God, there's a whole bunch of stuff I didn't get out of it that she really articulated so brilliantly."
Yeah.
And then of course I have Denison Avenue number one. There without being able to see the Defender, I have absolutely no idea. So I'm just putting Denison Avenue up because I think it's it was my favorite of the books. But I have no idea about the Defender. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I agree with that too. But I mean, that could change if when we
yeah,
see him day one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think it's anybody's game. I mean, I agree with you. I think the way they did it this year was to have the defenders on before the competition was an interesting choice. And now I wonder if everybody who's made predictions would go back and change them after listening to
Yeah.
to those interviews. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be good. It's going to be
I
fun.
know it's gonna be exciting. Anything else? You want to
No, I
mention
don't
anything else?
think
Oh,
so.
well, we should just mention. So what we're going to do
Yes.
the day. of the competition. We will still do our podcast. So Tara and I will do our podcast Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we will be on that format, our podcast. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, we will be with Jolene, our good friend Jolene, who is Bookworm Adventure Girl on YouTube and on Instagram, but she's very active on YouTube. She has a huge following. So she's going to be joining us as she has for, I don't think the last 4 years or so,
A
something
long
like
time.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always joining us. So we're really excited about that. And that will be our wrap up. And then the day after, on the 8th, we will have a podcast with Ali Hassan, like I said, and that will be up that day as well. So everything will be up the day of or the evening of at the very least. But
Yeah.
the podcast, now that I think about it, podcast with Jolene will go live on at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you
Sounds
better
good.
be there.
I think I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, putting it in my calendar so I don't
Yes.
forget. But
Yeah.
and I know Jolene did a really good wrap up of the short list too, on a recent video on her YouTube channel, and gave her opinions of the books, and so check that out too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
A- And I will say, I have no idea what happens when I finish like when we click out of this. So I'm assuming I'm going to be able to put some show notes in here. But since I've never done it, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
So hopefully, after you view this, if you need to go back and look at something, it will be in show notes, but we'll see.
Hopefully. We are
Yeah,
also flying by the seat of our pants at this moment. So,
absolutely.
okay. Happy
All right.
Canada reads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, oh.